Hey, JJ, how are you doing today?
Hey, Michelle, I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I have a new way to tell stories that I want to share with you.
Oh, I love stories. Do tell, do tell.
Okay, so long, long ago, our ancestors didn't have televisions or streaming or smartphones. So at night, after their long day of work, they would sit around the fire and they would tell stories. And they would go out into nature and get objects that they would use to help them tell the story.
Wow. So no TVs, no. Did they even have books?
No, they didn't even have books.
Oh
All
my
they
goodness.
all they had was what God would put around them in the world.
Ooh. So can you tell me a story like
Mhm.
they would tell?
Yep, I will. So this is my story bowl. Okay? So you can see I have a loaf of bread, I have pine cones, I have stones, and I have a piece of grass, right? And I'm going to use these objects to tell the story of our hero of the Bible today.
Oh my.
Our hero today is David. Now, David did a lot of amazing things, and we're going to tell the story of when he was a boy, a little bit older, like maybe a young teenager. Okay, so here we go, JJ. You ready?
Yeah, man.
Okay, so David was the youngest of many, many brothers, and his brothers were all bigger and stronger and wiser than him. And his brothers every day would go into battle against the Philistines, who was their enemy. And David was too little to fight. So David would go out into the grassy fields with all of the sheep, and he was a shepherd for the family. Now, part of his job was making sure the sheep had grass to eat and water to drink, but another very important job was to keep all the lions away so none of the predators would eat his sheep. He had to protect the flock. So David's mom gave him another job. David's mom said, every day, I want you to take something to eat to your brothers because they are working really hard out there in the war and they need food. So David did. And one day he went out with his food to the front of the battle lines where his brothers were, and he saw a giant Philistine man come to the front of their army. And the giant man said, if any of you are the strongest man of your army and you can fight me and you defeat me, we will all be your slaves. Well, David took a deep breath and thought, I'm pretty good at defeating those lions. I think I could defeat that giant. So David marched himself right over to the king and he said, King, I can be your man. And the king laughed. He said, oh, you're so little. You're not strong. There's no way that you will beat that giant. And so the king put a big helmet on his head and it covered his eyes. And the king put big armor all over his body and it was too heavy for David to walk. And then the king gave him a big giant sword. Well, David couldn't carry that. David said, I don't need any of these things. I know God is with me, and I know God gave me a special talent because I use a sling and stones to beat those lions. I can use a sling and stones to beat Goliath. So, little teeny tiny David went to the very front of the line, and he stood right near big giant Goliath. And there was a huge difference. And the people were worried. And they were worried about what would happen to poor David. But in David's pocket, he had 5 smooth stones. And he took one of the stones and he put it in his sling and he swung it around like this and went bam! And the stone hit Goliath in the head and he fell over dead. And that's our story, JJ. What do you think?
Oh my goodness. That is an exciting story coming out of just a little bowl.
Oh, yes, yes. You can use God's nature in all kinds of ways to tell stories.
Oh, you know what? I can tell you a story that happened to me this morning.
Oh, tell me.
Well, it was out in nature. The first part isn't really nature. You see, there was a chocolate wrapper, and it went flying past me, and, well, we love chocolate wrappers, we dogs, because there's always a little bit of chocolate left. You might not see it, but it's there. So I went running after the chocolate wrapper, and I grabbed it, and I held it in my paws, and I'm licking it, and it's like, oh, this is good. And all of a sudden, a feather floated by me.
Ooh.
And I watched the feather float by, and I was like, that's a little weird. And when I turned my head, I smelled something. It was the smell of you can kind of smell fear.
Oh, yes, JJ, yes.
Yeah. I felt like, okay, something over there's afraid. So I went over and there was an egg. It's a little blue egg and it was on the ground. And I sniffed that and I thought, well, okay, looks like something hatched. And then I heard this little voice and I turned. It was a baby robin, Michelle.
Oh, JJ, that's so precious.
Yeah. And he had been trying to push the egg out of the nest because he's getting bigger now and he wants some room and he fell out and he couldn't fly. And his mommy was there and she's like, JJ, can you do something? And so I very, very carefully put my nose down and I said, get on. And he got on my nose and the nest is really low, which is a good thing because I took him up and put him in there.
Oh, JJ, that's wonderful. Wow. And so
Yeah.
you were imagining all kinds of things in nature to help tell your story, like the chocolate wrapper and the feather and the little egg. That's wonderful, JJ. I love that.
Yeah. And it
Wow.
and it and it kind of is a story of my nose when you think about it. I I have a very special talent with my nose.
Yes, you do, JJ. That is so true. You
Yeah.
can smell all kinds of things humans can't smell. Yeah.
Hey,
Well, we are talking about David today, JJ, and David is our hero because in our story today, David knew God was with him. David had a very special talent, and David was not willing to change to be like everybody else because he knew that the talent God gave him was a talent he was meant to use, and David was successful. So he's our hero because he didn't try to be something he was not.
wow. I really like that. I didn't try to pick up the baby with my hands because I don't really have hands. I have paws and I could have hurt him. Or if I put him in my mouth, I might have hurt him with my teeth. So I just used what I had. I used my nose.
Oh, that's great, JJ. So your talent of your nose helps you in all kinds of ways, and you knew that was the best way, and you also knew God was with you to help you, right?
Yeah. Hey, you know what?
What?
Maybe for today's bit of a job, a challenge, maybe the kids could go outside and find some things that tell a story about them, about their special talents.
That's a great idea, JJ. So kids, take a moment to think about what is my special talent? What do I do really well that maybe is a gift from God? And then go out into nature and collect different things and make up a story around your talent. Oh, JJ, I love that.
I like that too.
Yeah. Well, let's have fun looking around our neighborhoods this afternoon and telling our stories, JJ. That sounds good. All right.
Sounds good. All right.
Let's say goodbye.
All right. Have fun, guys. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.